you gonna make your mama take the case? Or else next time you see me, I'm not coming to talk. Nod your head if you understand.
You don't understand. I have to go save her.
This was supposed to be my big break, you know? When, Angie? When is it gonna pay off?
I was just watching one of the top series on Apple TV just yesterday, and I'm like, why is there so much shaky cam? Like, so, that's normal. There's mistakes, but for the most part, I think we did a phenomenal job. A phenomenal job. I'm very proud of that. And I also think, as far as what I've put on camera as an actor, that's probably the best role that I've played, start to finish. I mean, arguably, like, for Ambition, that was submitted to film festivals, but because that was also Maurice Paramore's project. We did 2 projects together. That was the second one. And now I was the lead role in that film. And he submitted that to multiple film festivals. It got picked up by the Newark, like Newark, you know, that North Jersey International Film Festival, which is a pretty big film festival because they're sponsored by the Motion Picture Association of America.
Okay.
And I actually got nominated for Best Actor against Omari Hardwick in that film festival.
Awesome.
Yeah, do you know who Omari Hardwick is from Power?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so that was pretty crazy. So for me to say like, oh, that's probably the best role I played. Like I can't decide that. You know what I'm saying? Now Omari Hardwick won, for the record. Like I don't think that I could have. No matter what I put on screen, I don't think that they were going to give that to me over him in general. You know, he's a phenomenal actor. I'd never even seen the film that he was nominated for, so I can't speak to whether or not he did a better job anyway. But I actually know Omari. Like, when I first started acting and I was just doing background, I was actually on the first 2 episodes of Power.
Oh, all right.
Then later on, I auditioned for multiple roles in Power. Actually, when I actually got an acting career and I actually got an agent. Like I've had multiple conversations with Omari Hardwick. Yeah, he's a great dude. But yeah, so those, like I've enjoyed every process for the most part of making the film. Love is Complicated. That was probably the most unique of all of them, just because it was done with my business partner, but I didn't produce it, and he didn't write it. We were actually hired by a third party, but they didn't have a full script. They had a concept, and they had a non-script formatted story that they wanted to tell. And they had actors that they wanted to cast, and they had a very minimal resource budget. And basically, we were told to kind of figure it out as we go. So a lot of that movie is improv. So that was probably the most unique experience out of all of them. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I still got a chance to make it with one of my best friends, you know. And I feel like we did a pretty decent job. And it was received very well by the public. So, right now.
Where do you get the inspiration from, Keith, for your projects and films? Where does the inspiration come from?
I mean, all inspiration comes from God, for sure. That's kind of a vanilla answer, though. I think that it's super nuanced based on, like, what it is that we're talking about. Because as a filmmaker, I have a completely different mindset than as an actor. You know, if I'm acting in something, especially if I had absolutely nothing to do with the production side of it, I'm more so just trying to bring their vision to life. You know, I'm trying to do the project justice. I'm also trying, obviously, not to look bad, but you can't think about that when you're doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my inspiration is definitely dependent on that, and then what character I'm playing. Like for Kodak, that was interesting because I didn't have too many personal experiences. Like he's a drug dealer, right? I ain't never sold drugs. Like that's not. I'm from the suburbs. Like so that I had to find a mental reason as to why me putting myself in that person's situation, it would make sense to make these decisions. So I actually had to create a narrative in my head on why I'm making these decisions. And rationalize it as this is for the betterment of everybody. Even though logically, from a completely objective point of view, there's no way that could ever be possible because this was not a good person. You understand what I'm saying? So that was that inspiration. Whereas in Art of Love, from a character perspective, I had to tap into the enjoyment that the character had in solving these challenges, even though the challenges were literally killing people. So that's why, like, inspiration as an actor is one thing. As a filmmaker, I just wanted to do the genre, like, the right service. I love those type of movies and series.
Yeah.
Like, as a viewer. So I wanted to make sure that I did my best that it could stand up to the standard that was set by everyone else that I had watched and continue to watch. You know, so it just depends, man. It just depends.
Also, Keith, what other interests do you have personally? I know you are Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Yeah.
You share with us about that.
Yeah, I was about to say we suck, but we are the definition of mid as Steelers. We are almost always in the playoff conversation, and that is where the conversation ends. No one takes it seriously. They haven't taken it seriously for about 5 years now. It's frustrating. They do just enough for you to get your hopes up. And in the first round, that is the extent of where we will be seeing them play. I do not think or have faith that is about to change next season. But for whatever reason, we keep watching. So that is that as a Steelers fan. Yeah. Now, from a basketball perspective, I'm a Warriors fan. I've been watching Steph Curry since he was playing at Davidson with the 720p footage that they would show on ESPN Top 10 highlights. Like, because Davidson, nobody knew what that school was before Steph Curry.
Yeah.
That is a D1, almost D1 AA school. Now, the budget for that school has severely increased since his tenure there. And now they have state-of-the-art, facilities and things of that nature. But at the time, it was the slums of D1, if you will. That school was purely academic. And, I just was a Steph Curry fan since I was in high school. And then when he went to the Warriors, I just started watching the Warriors because Steph Curry was on. I didn't have a basketball team. I didn't even watch basketball before Steph Curry. It's actually crazy. I didn't even watch basketball before Steph Curry came into the league. But yeah, I've been a Warriors fan since he got there. I was vastly surprised by the success they had in the beginning. Now it's a foregone conclusion. Like, hindsight is 20/20. But from watching it start to finish, when we won that championship, I say we like I was on the team, but when they won that championship in 2015, first of all, I was in Africa, right? I was in Africa for modeling.
Okay.
So I didn't even watch that championship run in real time. So I found out through secondhand information while I was embarking on this side quest in my modeling career. And I'm like, wait, what? The Warriors won the championship.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know the rest. But yeah, I'm a Warriors fan. It's tough to be a Warriors fan They recently traded for Jimmy Butler. That's been exciting. Gives us a bit more hope. But yeah, those are my two teams. I don't really follow any other sports. But yeah.
Well, speaking of Golden State, San Francisco, California, you spent some time in California going to school, if I'm correct, for acting.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
tell us about that experience?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've lived in California for 2 years of my life, 1 year each stint. And the first time I lived in California was actually 2017. It was 2017, and that was the year before what I told you about earlier when I left my modeling agency and things of that nature. I had a friend who actually passed away due to cancer, unfortunately. But
Sorry.
yeah, I mean, you know, we all have to deal with the loss. But
Yes.
wonderful individual. His name was Jarius Madison. Anyway, he reached out to me and offered his apartment up for me to come out there for a few months to give acting a try, you know, during pilot season, because he knew I was interested in it. And so I went out there for a year, and honestly, I didn't get much traction at all from an acting standpoint until right before I left, which is funny how life happens. But basically, while I was there, I was going to a church called One Church LA, which is T.D. Jake's daughter's husband's church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's smack dab in the middle of Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a part of their, no, it doesn't exist anymore actually, but at the time they had an acting ministry where they would every couple months put on a performance during church that was biblically centered, but allowed the creative outlet that was obviously there to be used for that. So I was there, you know, just volunteering, and I got a chance to do a performance for Devon Franklin. I don't know if you know who Devon Franklin is. He's Megan Good's ex-husband.
Yes.
He's
Okay.
a minister. He's a New York Times bestselling author, and he's also award-winning producer. Produced many very, very successful films. He was a part of Pursuit of Happiness on that team, things of that nature. But anyway, he preaches there from time to time, and so one of his books, he was doing the release there during one of the services. And so what they decided to do was they decided to have a performance in the middle of the service, like from our acting ministry, where he was going to preach and then do the release of his book and sign his book. And so because of the publicity of that, that ended up being watched live by 32,000 people. And through some miracle, they cast me as the lead role in that performance. So that was pretty crazy, just from the simple fact that I was there for almost a year, and anything I tried to do acting-wise, nothing worked out until 2 to 3 weeks right before I was scheduled to leave. And then I did that. And I also, around that time, I had ran into somebody I knew from the church. And they were like, hey, did you hear about this ABC talent showcase? So just a quick background of that. The big three networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. I guess you could put Fox in there too. I don't know if Fox does this though, so I'm going to just say those three. They have a talent showcase every year. The biggest actors that you guys are familiar with, most of them have been a part of those showcases. Because what it does is, that showcase is done in front of the top execs from all of those networks, the top casting directors from all of those networks, and the top agencies in those areas. And you do it, and then a couple people are selected to get a 6-month internship at those networks, where they're literally taken through kind of an indoctrination, if you will, in a positive way, to the industry. So like, for example, right, 2 people that did the ABC Talent Showcase once upon a time are Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P.,
Yes.
and Lupita Nyong'o. You know what I mean? That should let you know right there, like how prestigious that situation is. And so he had a screenshot of how to submit to do the ABC Talent Showcase. And so it gives you like a cutoff date, and the cutoff date was the next day. And so, which is crazy, right? And so I had to get like the materials together to submit it, you know, within 24 hours. And I had never submitted for an audition before that. Now, like, this is very normal part of my career. First of all, I don't even self-submit anymore because I have agents for that. Like, while I was driving here today, my agent sent me an audition that I have to do. That's how normal that part of life is today. But was that 8 years ago? Wow, that was 8 years ago. 8 years ago, that was a foreign concept. So I reached out to my brother, who's also a professional actor, and asked him how to get these things together. I got it all done, sent it in, and I didn't think anything of it. A month went by, and I got an email that they wanted me to come in for an audition. So I'm like, all right, cool. They sent me the audition sides, which is like, you know, just the script basically for what I was going to be doing. And I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 pages or something like that. But I had 24 hours to do it. Now, we just talked about how normal that is. Yeah. At the time, though, I was freaking out because I didn't know anything. I had no training. I had no experience. Like, I was, you know what I'm saying? So I was talking to my friends that were actors that had more experience and trying to go through it with them and trying to prepare myself. And, anyway, I got there. It's done on the Disney lot because Disney owns like 40 different networks. It's funny how like all this stuff is connected. But they're the umbrella for all these networks. And so it's done on the Disney lot. I get there, I go through security, I get in the actual like waiting room, and there's all these actors there from all these different TV shows that know each other. And they're all like shaking hands, like saying like, save some jobs for the rest of us. Like they're all comfortable. And I'm sitting here like, bro, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Like, they call my name. I go in the room, and I'm introduced to the casting director. Actually, funny enough, I actually met an executive on the elevator, and I didn't even know he was an executive. And we had a nice conversation, and he was like, break a leg or whatever. I forgot about that part. I didn't want to mention that. But anyway, I get in there, I meet the casting director, super nice guy. I still remember his face to this day. I don't remember his name, but super nice guy. Anyway, he tells me what we're going to do. We get prepared for it or whatever. I sit down. I'm ready to do my audition. And I look up, and so in these auditions, there's what is called a reader, which is they just read the other character's perspective that you're not auditioning for so that there's a full scene being done, right? And so I'm looking now at the reader, and all the blood from my face immediately drained. Because although this isn't like a well-known actor, he was a lead role in one of my favorite series at the time. Unfortunately, it got canceled after 1 season. But he was a lead role in that. And I was just watching it. I don't know if it was earlier that day, but I'm pretty sure it was earlier that week. So I'm like, ain't no way. Like, this dude is right across from me. You know what I'm saying? So I immediately went from a little nervous to out of my mind in like 2 seconds, you know? But I can't show that, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't have this realization until right before they're about to say action for me to do this. So I didn't have any time to collect myself. And so it's safe to say that I did not actually, okay, you would probably think I blew the audition. I didn't blow the audition, right? But I did mess up though. I messed up twice. I did it. I'm going back and forth. And then I got to this one part in the script and my mind just blanked. Like it just blanked. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Let me start again. And then I did the same thing. Got to that same part and blanked. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, you know, you give me a second. And then the casting director, again, very nice guy. He's like, you know, you can use your script, right? And I'm like, yeah, let me grab that, right? And so I collect myself, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to do this. We're doing it. I have the script here in my hand, but it's not like the camera's here, you know what I mean? So the script is here. It's off camera, but it's there for me to reference at the point, right?
okay.
And I'm doing it back and forth. I'm getting close to that part that I forgot, and then something happened, like something clicked, and I made one of the boldest moves that you could make in that moment, while not even like losing me locking eyes with them and being focused. Them knowing that I'm getting close to the part that I messed up, I looked in his eyes and I put the script below me on the floor and straight delivered it perfectly. Like, and then they all looked at each other and they were like, all right, that was great, thank you. And so I just walked out and I was like, listen, man, whatever happens, happens. Like, at least, you know what I mean? At least, at least I went out strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, did your thing. Yeah.
And so a month went by and I was like, well, I clearly didn't get that. And then I got an email that they wanted me to come in for a callback. And in the industry, like, it's well known that if you get a callback for something, no matter what happens after the callback, you did your job. Because there are a bajillion different factors that have nothing to do with acting that go into whether someone is selected after the callback. Like, it's fit with the other people. It's how many times they've auditioned other people that you're competing with, those relationships. It's they send you up to the network and they're like, yo, I want this guy, but the network's like, oh, I don't know if I feel that. Like, I want this other guy. Like, it's how you literally physically look next to the person that they know that they want you to work with. Like, it's a whole bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with you personally or your talent. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just to get the call back, you know, you did your job. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get it. And actually, I ended up auditioning for the ABC Talent Showcase 2 other times after that. And I got the call back every time. But never broke through, unfortunately. But that was my first stint in LA. The second one, I ended up getting a scholarship to go to one of the top acting schools in America. It's the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And so I was there for a year. I actually didn't finish because it's a 2-year school. It was very, very expensive, though. Even with full scholarships and financial aid, I still had to pay $8,000 out of pocket. I mean, it's $43,000 a year. So, like, that's still a severe discount, but it's still $8,000.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, it's full time, so you don't have time to work.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So going there, it put a lot of stress on my marriage and, like, you know, trying to make ends meet and things of that nature. So I ended up going for my second year. And it's funny because you actually have to be invited back for your second year based on how you did your first year.
Oh.
So I did get invited back, but didn't finish. But I learned a lot. It was a blessing. It was very hard from a mental standpoint, but I definitely think it was worth it. I don't know if I can quantify the fruits of that investment because that was only a year ago. And I haven't, it's funny, right? I get a lot of auditions still now. But I recently cut ties with the acting agent that I had, that I was doing a majority of my bigger auditions for dramatic work. So like the series and the movies and things of that nature that I mentioned. I cut ties with them after a while just because it seemed like we had different visions of where I wanted to take my career and the type of roles that I wanted to do. And so I got a different agent. So honestly, I just get commercial auditions now, which is kind of weird because I started my career as an actor doing commercials. And then for years, I never got commercial auditions. And now that's like the majority of what I get. That's not really my preference, to be honest. But that's the season of life I'm in right now. So, yeah, that was my time in LA.
Hey, incredible story, Keith. We want to thank you for spending time with us today, man.
Of course. It was a pleasure.
Always.
Definitely.
And please, thank you. And any shout outs or hellos you want to give to anyone out there, or let them know real quick what your next step is and say hello.
Yeah. So I want to give a shout out to my wife, Zandale Matliwa. You can actually watch her on Netflix right now in The Kissing Booth 1, 2, and 3. Check that out. Support. I want to give a shout out to my mom, shout out to my dad, my grandma, give a shout out to my business partner, Ace Sylvia, one of the best up and coming directors. Give a shout out to Maurice for giving me the opportunity. Give a shout out to my agents and anybody else that's helped me out. And give a shout out to all my family and friends. Y'all know who you are. And lastly, I probably should have did it first. Give a shout out to the Lord, Jesus Christ.
Yes, yes. Thanks again, Keith. All the best success in the future, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Keith Van Nelson, y'all. Video Explosion. Thanks for watching.
We
We'll
out.
see you next time.
Yes, sir.